But what happens if Caitlin Clark decides that she no longer wants to play in the WNBA?
The basketball world is in turmoil, and a powerful question is echoing through every arena and newsroom. Has Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's brightest star, finally reached her limit? What started as subtle concerns has now grown into a chorus of doubt, frustration, and alarm. Mounting incidents on and off the court suggest this isn't just about tough competition, it's about a pattern of treatment that's raising serious red flags. Beneath the league's polished image and glossy highlight reels lies a story many are unwilling to confront. This is the side of professional women's basketball that rarely sees daylight, a side where one of the sport's most transformative figures appears to be facing hostility, neglect, and pressure from the very institution she helped elevate. We're pulling back the curtain on a growing crisis, one the league would rather keep quiet.
Get bullied, nobody would do nothing.
That's right.
Nobody would do nothing. It was like, hey, they didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there.
From the very first time Caitlin Clark stepped onto a WNBA court, she wasn't just another rookie, she was a phenomenon in motion. With her came more than elite talent and deep three-point range. She delivered something the league had never seen at this scale: explosive energy, historic viewership, and an entirely new fan base that followed her every move. But what did she get in return? Not the celebration you'd expect for a generational talent, but a target so large and undeniable it's become a national talking point. The backlash didn't wait. And yet, the numbers tell a story no critic can ignore. Clark didn't just elevate the Indiana Fever, she revived them. A team once buried at the bottom of the league's relevance suddenly became must-watch TV. Her impact on viewership was seismic. Fever games averaged 1.18 million viewers, while the rest of the league barely cracked 400,000. That's not growth, that's a revolution. Attendance followed suit. The Fever's home crowd soared from just 4,000 fans in 2023 to over 17,000 per game in 2024. One game, the regular season finale against Washington, shattered records, drawing over 20,000 fans, the highest WNBA crowd in nearly 2 decades. And in the playoffs? Her final rookie appearance drew 2.5 million viewers, the most-watched WNBA game on cable television ever. What Clark brought to the league wasn't just momentum. It was a once-in-a-generation surge in popularity, and she carried that weight entirely on her shoulders.
The truth is, the success of this expansion, hell, the success of the WNBA, it is 100% reliant on Caitlin Clark.
But this is where Caitlin Clark's story takes a deeply troubling turn. Instead of being embraced as a rising star, instead of being shielded from unnecessary harm, she became the consistent target of what many are now calling calculated, on-court harassment. What's most disturbing isn't just the physicality, it's the silence. Rather than stepping in to support her, many within the league, including fellow players, have appeared to not only tolerate the behavior, but in some cases, celebrate it. The very athletes who could have welcomed her into a competitive sisterhood instead seem to treat her success as a threat. These aren't isolated incidents, they're part of a growing pattern. Take, for example, the now infamous game against the Connecticut Sun, a moment that sent shockwaves through fans and analysts alike. Clark, already playing through injury, is seen maneuvering with the ball when she catches an unintentional hit to the eye from JCS Sheldon. Visibly shaken, she instinctively responds with a light push, hardly unusual in a high-contact sport. But what happened next stunned everyone. Marina Mabrey, without hesitation, shoves Clark to the hardwood, a move so blatant, so aggressive, that it instantly sparked outrage. Yet the league's immediate response? Silence. No review. No suspension. No statement. Just business as usual. For a player who has done more for the WNBA's visibility in one season than some franchises have in a decade, the lack of protection was glaring. And for fans watching, it raised a chilling question: is the league failing, or refusing, to protect its most valuable star?
So Caitlin Clark gets poked in the eye, Marina Mabrey doesn't even see what happens, and she just decides to clean Caitlin Clark out of it. And the referees just said, nah, it was not worth an injection.
When Marina Mabrey shoved Caitlin Clark to the ground in full view of a national audience, the expectation was clear: there would be swift and decisive action. Instead, the referees allowed the moment to pass without an ejection. And the league? It remained completely silent. No statement. No accountability. Just a replay of a top rookie getting knocked down, both literally and institutionally, with no meaningful consequences. It wasn't until the public backlash reached a boiling point and media coverage intensified that the WNBA finally addressed the situation. Only then did they acknowledge what millions had already seen: the officials got it wrong. But by the time a delayed penalty was handed out, many felt the damage had been done, and the league's response was too little, too late. And this wasn't a one-time lapse. It was just another chapter in a broader, more disturbing pattern that has haunted Clark since her arrival in the league. From flagrant fouls to off-ball hits, the targeting has been relentless. Far too often, these incidents are brushed off, downplayed, or quietly ignored by officials who seem unwilling to rein in the aggression. The message? If you're going to welcome Caitlin Clark to the WNBA, do it the hard way. Meanwhile, Clark's presence has turned the league into a ratings powerhouse. The numbers are staggering. NBA TV reported a jaw-dropping 346% surge in viewership, climbing from just 46,000 to over 240,000 viewers per game in 2024. CBS broadcast its highest-rated WNBA games in more than 2 decades. Then came the 2024 All-Star Game, Clark's debut, which shattered all-time ratings records. And during the playoffs, over 54 million unique viewers tuned in across multiple platforms. This isn't just a sports story anymore. It's a cultural moment. And yet, the treatment of the league's most impactful figure tells a different, far more unsettling story.
Before the 2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. What that means is, if the WNBA were to continue to grow at the rate it grew from 22 to 23, it would take until 2028 to do what Caitlin Clark did this year.
Even the merchandise data makes one thing crystal clear: Caitlin Clark's arrival has reshaped the landscape of women's basketball. Jersey sales didn't just rise, they skyrocketed, with a reported 3,000% increase. And leading those sales charts? Clark, by a landslide. This wasn't a routine boost in attention. It was a seismic shift in public interest, a redefinition of how women's professional basketball is perceived across the country. Clark brought new eyes, new fans, and new revenue into the sport, helping elevate its cultural relevance in ways that simply hadn't happened before. And yet, for all her success, the response from within the league has often been cold, and at times, openly hostile. Even legendary ESPN broadcaster Dick Vitale felt compelled to speak out, calling the treatment Clark has received from fellow players absurd. His comments came on the heels of a jaw-dropping player poll, one that ranked Clark as only the 9th best all-star guard in the league. 9th. For a rookie who led the league in media attention, jersey sales, viewership spikes, and game attendance, the ranking wasn't just questionable, it was indefensible. And to many, it revealed something deeper, a growing current of resentment, envy, and gatekeeping within the league itself. Rather than embracing the athlete responsible for taking the WNBA to new heights, some players appear more focused on minimizing her achievements. The result? A fractured atmosphere where progress is overshadowed by pettiness, and where one of the game's most important stars is being forced to navigate hostility from those.
WNBA is culpable in some of this.
Totally culpable.
Because yesterday, I think they upgraded one of the fouls to a flagrant 2, which brought a fine with it.
Now, it's time to confront an uncomfortable but critical part of this conversation: the racial dynamics that have been unfairly weaponized in the discourse surrounding Caitlin Clark. Rather than using her rise as an opportunity to highlight the beauty of diversity and the power of inclusive excellence, some critics have distorted the narrative. Clark's success as a white player in a predominantly black league has, at times, been used to sow division, creating a false dichotomy where none should exist. Instead of uniting around her undeniable talent and the renewed spotlight she's brought to women's basketball as a whole, her popularity has been painted by some as controversial, even problematic. It's a narrative that shifts the focus away from athletic achievement and instead pits players and fan bases against each other along lines that have nothing to do with the game itself. This racial undercurrent doesn't just misrepresent Clark's story, it undermines the broader mission of growing the sport. Basketball, at its best, is a unifier. Yet in this case, it's been turned into a battleground for cultural and identity politics, overshadowing the on-court greatness being displayed by players across all backgrounds. And then there's the injury, a sobering reminder of the physical toll Clark has been forced to endure. She was recently sidelined from participating in the All-Star Game due to a groin injury, one that many close to the league believe was worsened by the constant, unchecked physicality she's faced throughout the season. What should have been a moment of celebration, her first All-Star appearance, instead became another symbol of how the system seems to be failing her. From media framing to on-court targeting, the pressures on Clark go far beyond what any rookie should be expected to bear.
This year, it has been quad injury, and then another quad injury, and then a groin injury, and now what seems to be another groin injury.
Clark's statement said it all, and it was nothing short of heartbreaking. I am incredibly sad and disappointed to say I can't participate in the three-point contest or the All-Star game. For any rookie, these moments are meant to be career highlights, a chance to stand alongside the league's elite, to celebrate hard work, and to be embraced by the basketball world on one of its biggest stages. For Caitlin Clark, it was supposed to be a milestone in a record-breaking debut season. Instead, it became a symbol of exhaustion, pain, and sacrifice. Her words revealed more than just the disappointment of missing a showcase event. They reflected the emotional and physical toll of a season marked by relentless pressure, both on and off the court. A season where her body has been tested, her reputation challenged, and her presence politicized. This was more than an injury withdrawal. It was a quiet cry from a star who has carried the weight of a league's revival, while enduring a level of scrutiny, aggression, and expectation that few athletes, let alone rookies, have ever faced.
Starts crying, and I've honestly never seen Caitlin Clark cry on the court except when she lost the national championship game. She keeps it together no matter what is happening.
This is an athlete who thrives in pressure, who has always risen to the occasion on the biggest stages. Caitlin Clark lives for competition, yet here she is, sidelined during the WNBA's premier showcase event. Not because of rest. Not by choice. But because her body could no longer withstand the toll of months spent absorbing unchecked contact. This isn't just disappointing, it's a crisis for a league that's relying heavily on her star power. Clark isn't just another player, she's the face of a new era in women's basketball. And if the league can't keep its most valuable asset healthy and protected, what message does that send to fans, sponsors, and future stars? The issue now goes beyond tough defense. It's a legitimate officiating scandal. In game after game, referees have failed to enforce even the basic protections owed to every player on the court. Flagrant fouls? Ignored. Repeated contact far outside the bounds of clean play? Overlooked. The pattern is impossible to ignore, and the consequences are escalating. Whether intentional or not, the message being sent is unmistakable. It's open season on Caitlin Clark. If the league doesn't act, and fast, this isn't just going to damage one player's career. It risks undermining the credibility of the WNBA itself.
WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem, and they are demanding answers, and they are demanding changes.
What's most alarming is that the growing call for Caitlin Clark to leave the WNBA isn't coming from fringe voices or internet trolls. It's coming from the very fans who've stood by her from the beginning. These are people who've watched every minute, every hard foul, every ignored call. And their concern is real. They're not questioning her talent, they're questioning whether this league deserves her at all. To them, it's not about fandom anymore. It's about protecting an athlete whose treatment has crossed the line from competitive to cruel. They've seen how Clark has been targeted, minimized, and left vulnerable, not just by opposing players, but by the very system meant to support her. And increasingly, they're concluding that the WNBA, despite everything Clark has done for it, has failed her. The irony couldn't be more devastating. Reports have already surfaced suggesting that European teams are preparing lucrative offers, not only with more money but also with the structure, professionalism, and respect Clark hasn't consistently found at home. While she remains contractually committed to the Indiana Fever through her rookie deal, the whispers about a future overseas aren't going away. And if she did make that move, the impact would be catastrophic. The ratings would nosedive. Attendance would collapse. The historic momentum Clark has generated, all the excitement, investment, and visibility, would evaporate almost overnight. And the WNBA would have no one to blame but itself. What's unfolding here is nothing short of a sports management disaster. Instead of rallying around their brightest star, the league has allowed internal politics, egos, and unchecked hostility to dictate her experience. Rather than protect and promote their most valuable asset, they've left her exposed, physically, emotionally, and professionally. Clark's transition from collegiate legend to professional punching bag is more than a disappointing narrative, it's a warning. A warning about what happens when institutions let resentment outweigh reason, and when leadership allows greatness to be isolated instead of supported. And through it all, Clark has remained composed, focused, professional. She's continued to show up, for her team, for the fans, and for the sport itself, even as those around her have failed to offer the most basic decency in return. The tragedy isn't just in what she's endured. It's in how she's endured it, with a level of grace and strength that those undermining her have never once shown. And if the league doesn't course correct soon, it may lose the very player who made it matter again.
Yeah, it's definitely upsetting. I don't think there's nobody in our league should be facing any sort of racism, hurtful, disrespectful, hateful comments and threats. Those aren't fans, those are trolls, and it's a real disservice to the people in our league, the organization.
In Clark's recent remarks, reflecting on her gratitude for the relationships she's built and the opportunities she's been given, speak volumes about her character. In a season defined by chaos and controversy, her words stand as a testament to maturity, resilience, and professionalism. But beneath that composed exterior, there's something harder to ignore: fatigue. A quiet disappointment. A sense that the league she entered with hope may not be the place she thought it would be. The question now isn't whether Caitlin Clark deserves better, that much is obvious to anyone paying attention. The real question is whether the WNBA will recognize what they have in time to fix what's broken. Because the clock is ticking. Clark is not just a phenomenal talent, she's a generational force. She took a league that was struggling to break into the mainstream and gave it cultural relevance, national attention, and record-shattering viewership. And what has she received in return? Cheap shots. Dismissals. An environment that at times seems more interested in humbling her than in helping her. Every day that goes by without real change, without strong officiating, without vocal support from leadership, without a commitment to protect the very player who redefined their ceiling, is a day the WNBA moves closer to a self-inflicted crisis. European leagues are already waiting with open arms, offering more money, more support, and, perhaps most importantly, the respect she's earned. If Clark decides to walk away, it won't be because she wasn't good enough. It will be because the league that needed her most failed to meet the moment. This isn't just about one player's future, it's about the future of women's professional basketball. If the WNBA continues down this path, they don't just risk losing their biggest star. They risk sending a message to every young athlete watching, that excellence will be punished, not protected. The world is watching. The fans are watching. And the decision the WNBA makes next will echo far beyond this season. Will the league finally recognize the once-in-a-lifetime athlete they've been gifted and build around her with care, support, and long-term vision? Or will they continue to allow resentment and neglect to chip away at what could have been their defining era? One thing is certain, this story will be remembered. And whether it becomes the WNBA's greatest triumph, or its most devastating failure, depends entirely on what happens next. Because if Caitlin Clark leaves this league, it won't be due to injury or retirement. It will be because of a failure so avoidable, so glaring, that it should haunt every decision-maker involved. The mistreatment must stop. The protection must start. And the time to act is now, before the player who could have been their Michael Jordan walks away, not because she couldn't handle the game, but because the game refused to handle her with the respect she earned. What do you think? Should Caitlin Clark consider leaving the WNBA?